Hi there, it's Dave New from Leicestershire County Squash here. I'm just going to introduce a site that we've been looking at over the last few months in the name of Squashlevels.com. You may well be aware of the changes that are going to come into force next season that's bringing Leicestershire online, and I want to just talk to you about some of the benefits by us submitting our data to a national database. So Squashlevels is a national database of results submitted by leagues from across the whole of the UK. It combines those into unique player histories, allowing a player to track their progress over time based on their match results, and that could be wherever they've played in the county or even in the country. Squashlevels uses players who participate in matches across different counties as a benchmark to create a level for each player from a beginner to the world's best. So I'm going to start at leicestershiresquash.com. As you can see, I already have the page loaded up, but if you were to highlight the link there, you can see it's www.leicestershiresquash.com. I'm going to use the men's Division 1 as our example, but this will actually work for the ladies or Pick Everard leagues or Cobley Transport. You can see all the different divisions on here, so you can do that with any player or team that you wish. As I say, I'm going to use Division 1 as our example. So I've highlighted men's Division 1, I've clicked here, and that's brought us into our squash matrix. And this actually example we're looking at is the 2014 to 2015 season, which has just finished. What I'd like to do here is, some people have mentioned in the past that it can be difficult to see when their matches are. So I'm going to just click on Cleaver 1 for an example, and this will give us a list of all of the fixtures that Cleaver have played. Now we can see the results are in here showing, because they've already completed those games. There's still a couple of results to submit from Cleaver, so you can see down here that this result is blank. But we can see nicely down the side we've got our list of fixtures. So if you ever need to check out your fixtures for the next season, you can just log in, click on your team name, and you should see a nice list of fixtures like this. So I'm going to go back to the matrix again, and we can, as we look through the matrix here, let's look at Burton for an example. We can see some of their results. If I hover the mouse over the front, over the top of the score, it gives us the scorecard. Just a brief one, and if I was to click on to the scorecard, it will take us through to the individual game results as well. What I'd like to focus on here is the players area. So in each division that you play in, you will be assigned a ranking, and that ranking has some notes at the bottom where we can see, which will give you a Leicestershire squash ranking for the season. If you just read through the notes here, this will explain as to how you move up and down those particular rankings. But it's the numbers on the side that I want to really talk about now. So let's use James Hodson as an example. It says he's second according to these rankings, but his level says 6337. The data that we submit to Squashlevels will take the results that James Hodson has had against other players within Leicestershire, and depending on the level that they are set at, it will then adjust James Hodson's level up and down accordingly. So let's take a look at squashlevels.com, and we'll have a look at James's player history and see how he's been getting on in the last season. So let's put in squashlevels.com. Okay, so once we are in squashlevels.com, we can search for the player we're looking for. On this occasion, I'm going to use James Hodson. Just a quick note here, if you do see players who appear to be the same player and you see them appearing twice, there's an option where you can submit them as a duplicate player, and it will then merge both of their results. James Hodson, Next Generation Cambridge, I know is not the same player, So I'm happy that we can go with James Hodson, Leicester. I've clicked on James Hodson, and we can see here level 6337. Now that's the same level that you saw on LeicesterShireSquash.com, and the way this level is arrived at is from all of the games that he's played in its entire history that have appeared on Squashlevels.com. That will include this year's results in Division 1. We can also see James has played a match in the Leicestershire Cobley Transport League, and it would include any other games that James has played in other counties as well. Depending on the standard or the level of the opponent and the points scored in each game and the number of games won, your squash level will be adjusted up or down accordingly. So if we have a look at the graph here, we can see in the last, since January 2015, James started at 6855 and he's currently at 6337. There's another table here where we can see some of his stats as well. So we can see overall he's improved by 93% from the initial level that was set. So that's an individual player level, but what I'd like to do is have a look perhaps at where a particular player is in the county. So let's look at James Hodson again, and we've just gone back to the main home page, and I'm going to select Leicestershire as the county. I'm going to set that to all Leicestershire clubs. So this should show us where James Hodson slots in the entire Leicestershire county. So I can see there James Hodson, number 11. Okay, and there's his level 6337. I can narrow that down a little bit, and I can have a look at just the Leicester Squash Club, which James played at this year. Again, that shows us all the players who played at Leicester Squash, and there we are, number 4, James Hodson, 6337. Okay, so that's just a quick tour around squashlevels.com. I hope that is of use to you. Remember to keep checking back to LeicesterShireSquash.com for the results, news, and all the squash in Leicestershire, and check out your levels at squashlevels.com.